myself. Like, hi, I'm just talking to
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I was telling Alex I was
Somebody got a haircut.
I was on a call with Walter and Rob and Brent, and some lady drove her Escalade into my neighbor's house.
Get out.
Yeah, man, right on.
That's not even the crazy part, though.
Yeah, I was sitting here, looking at I was looking at the hangout, and then something caught my eye, and it was this Escalade came across like at a high rate of speed, which was kind of like the first thing that caught my eye. Then she jumped the curb, and then the vehicle then like came off the curb, straightened itself out, and then proceeded to run down the street through the intersection and into my neighbor's house, into the corner of my neighbor's garage, and I was like,
everybody okay?
I was like, I gotta go.
Hey guys, I gotta go. Oh, don't worry, it's just an Escalade in the neighbor's house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I ran away halfway downstairs before I realized I didn't have my phone, and then I came back up, called 911.
Ran into a phone booth, put on your cape.
Exactly. Ran downstairs.
Can I get it?
No.
Different kind of joke.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Crazy. And all that was like in a matter of minutes. So.
Speaking of capes, Jason runs off. His camera's still showing his room.
Jason, I like your cut. That looks good.
Oh, thanks, man. I don't know. I'm always, by the time I realize I need a haircut, it's usually about 3 or 4 weeks past the point where I really needed a haircut.
That's what my hairstylist says. Style. That's the lady who cuts my hair. There's no style involved. I know it's time to cut my hair when I get this like wave. My hair does this kind of wave thing. It's like,
nice.
Hey buddy, time to cut your hair. You got the wave going on.
That's what the cool kids do. The cool kids have the wave in it, Ed.
Yeah,
so you need a haircut app.
A haircut app? A reminder?
Reminds you when?
Well, a reminder and...
You look like your grandma. Get a haircut. You need to get a haircut.
Well, here's the thing. When you go get your haircut, here's the thing for me is that up until recently, I never really had run into somebody who cut my hair correctly. Right? Every stylist has their own way of doing things, and not very many that I've run into can actually like do what you want them to do. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, totally.
I don't have this problem, but go on.
And to their credit, yeah, well, okay, good. That's just me. And to their credit, most people are bringing in pictures of Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie or like whatever, right? I mean. Maybe you look like this guy, right? And
I had a talk with my hair cutter about that, but go on.
Yeah. So I brought this lady a picture, and I was like, I want
Bill Nye.
Yeah, right. Sweet.
I could do
that. Actually, it was crap. What's his name?
Everybody's swearing tonight except for Alex.
What's his name?
I'm being good. I got all mine out 5 minutes early.
Oh, I can't remember his name. He was on ER. He was like the love.
George Clooney?
George Clooney.
For Cloonster?
Yeah, I said I want a haircut like Clooney.
You can get your haircut like Clooney, but you ain't gonna look like Clooney, buddy.
Well, and I understand that.
You don't want to look like Clooney, though. Now he looks like an old man.
But I got that's okay though, because I got the salt and pepper thing going on, and
you do.
And all that, and that's what I wanted, right? So
you could be an American Assassin too.
So now I have that app, not app. I have that picture in my photo album so that I can, so I can show her. But by this point, she remembers, right? She's good enough to actually remember. But I think most people do that, right? They go in and.
But that's a new thing.
I've always been terrible at it. I'm terrible at knowing what I want, and then if I happen to know what I want, which is rare, I'm terrible at describing it. You really want to freak a hairdresser out, sit in a chair and go, roll the dice. You decide.
Go nuts.
I did this once. I sat down and I said, I don't listen. You do this all day for a living. You know what looks good better than me. Just do. I'm not going to be angry.
Coming away with a crew.
Oh my God! It's like they get this look in their eye. They go like, snip. I'm done.
Well, here's the. Oh, Rob says, "What's the URL?" Sorry, Rob. So here's the other thing is that you don't know what your face looks like in this picture, right? Right? You got. Because they even with the little books they give you, the little magazines or whatever, right? With all the studio.
This is your app, man. This is an app. I'm telling you.
See, now I'm thinking it out loud here. You got a little scroll view, and you have a picture of you, right? And then you're able to pinch and zoom to get the size that you want, and then you are able to scroll through these do's, and the do like scrolls in on top of your head, right? It's an overlay, and then you got like a, you got a Justin Bieber do.
You know who you got to talk to?
You got like a,
Who's the guy who did that?
I've got two things to say. One, that what you're describing, Charles, actually exists for eyeglasses, for eye frames. I don't know if you guys ever use Zenni Optical. Zenni, Zenni, optical.com. If you want if you want eyeglass frames that are filled with, Chinese lead, go to that site. They're like $3 a pair of frames with shipping. Crazy.
Yeah, if you have allergies to metal, you might not want to.
Exactly. I'm a $39glasses.com guy.
Are you? There you go. So if you like your glasses irradiated, then probably going to Zenni Optical is
as long as they're not radiating, everything's good.
I ordered these glasses online.
Online is the way to go. I mean, I remember when I bought my glasses. I think how old was I? Like 24. They were like $300.
Stop here.
You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
I'll be right back.
Hey, the crazy thing is, okay, so when you go in and get your eye exam, the optometrist charges you for the exam, but the glasses and all that other stuff are upsell, right? That's another revenue stream for their business is to you've just got your eye exam, let's fit you for some glasses, right? You're right there, and people have always sort of lumped that all into one thing. That this is what needed to happen, and so in my last round, I got my eyes checked, and then I said, I just want my prescription.
Yep.
And they said, we can't give it to you. And I was like, yeah, you can give it to me, because I paid for it.
I believe in you.
That's right.
I paid for it. So they were not happy. They did not like me, but they finally gave me my prescription, and then they wrote on the prescription, I can't remember what it was for, but it was something like, they stamped it with something like, not valid,
Not
something
for
or whatever.
resale.
If you were George,
something like that, right?
Otherwise, no.
Yeah. So I went to eyeglasses.com or something stupid like that, and I just uploaded it to them, and I picked out the frames that I wanted, and they sent me glasses, and they were, like you said, I think I paid maybe like $30-$50 or something like that instead of $150 or more.
Yeah.
So
over here, Charles, the optometrist is like ancillary to the eyeglass store.
Over here, what do you mean over here? Where?
Over on the East Coast. I don't know how
Over here.
I thought you meant like another continent.
No, but over here in the beautiful Commonwealth of PA, when you go to the lens crafters, the doctor is there, right? But it's like the doctor's office. So you go in there, they give you your prescription, and then you walk 5 feet. You know what I mean?
And they're technically speaking, even if they share a building, 2 separate businesses.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So it sounds like your optometrist sells glasses.
Right, exactly. That was my situation. But yeah, I know what you mean, because there used to be a Texas State Optical, which was I think there was a doctor and a frame thing altogether. But anyway.
Right. So that's probably why they weren't happy, right? Because they were subsidizing your prescription, assuming you were going to buy $200 glasses.
Yeah, well, I get it. I mean, I don't begrudge them for having a business model. Yeah. But it doesn't
begrudge them. I don't mind them making the pitch for the upsell, but trying to deny you. I'm sort of like, I'm all for you requiring me to ask for it, but once I've asked for it, just shut up and give it to me.
Yeah, right.
You've got yourself a savvy consumer on your hands. You're better off just letting me get out the door.
Let me sum this up for you. Just shut up and give it to me.
I do you a favor.
Take my money.
But going back to the haircutting app thing, I think that would work. I think that would be.
Well, guys,
that would be one of those apps that I'm surprised if it's not out there. But if it's not, it's
there you go.
The picture is new for. I'm not trying to play the race card here, but black folks have had the picture for a long time. They've got the step side. Like, have you guys ever seen those black Twitter posts? Those like dumps where they've got like all the haircut pictures. Oh my God, they're delicious. They're so fantastic. So it's like, what you want, fam? It's like, you know what, just fuck me up. And some dude just has like the most ridiculous haircut, like somebody dropped a buzzsaw on it or something. So the point is that I think this app has got legs, and I'm surprised that Hair Cuttery or Great Clips or whatever doesn't have something.
Well, here's the other thing.
Get on it.
Is that my stylist and I say my stylist, like, let me tell you what my stylist said.
Your cleaning stylist?
Yeah, right. She will actually come to your place of business or your home and cut your hair, right? So she has clients that will say, I'm too busy. I don't want to go out and travel and do all. You just come here, cut my hair, right? And in the world of Uber and ordering stuff through your phone, I think that's a genius idea. Why not go to where the customer is?
I saw on like a freelance site, somebody was pitching that they were looking for a mobile dev who would help them build an Uber of beauty, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Well, the stylists that I've talked to, I haven't talked to many, but of the handful that I've ever talked to, they're kind of resistant to technology, right? They're like, I really don't want to book things online.
Like, I haven't changed the Barbasol liquid in my thing for 20 years. I'm not.
yeah, he says, whoosh, 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 he's doing the blade with the leather piece. Yeah,
well, again, I don't want to be a coastal elitist, but every stylist that, unfortunately I don't have any hair anymore, so the only context I have is my son's hair, who gets his hair cut relatively often, and they're all, they've all got septum piercing and spacers in their ears. They seem pretty hip. I don't know. And I don't have a camera up, so I can't take a picture of me. Sorry. You know what I look like, though. It's exactly what the picture is.
You can order everything through your phone. Right? You can have a car come and pick you up. You can have your groceries delivered. You can do something from Amazon. Within an hour.
Other things you can't talk about on the show. Pretty much everything.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Not in some states.
I heard
Jesus, apparently.
If you have one of those sweet dispensary cards in California, they'll make you up like the best gourmet meal that's made with like a whole lot of marijuana.
Wait a minute. Were you talking about animal, mineral, or vegetable? I'm lost.
I was saying in California, if you have one of those dispensary, like a medical marijuana card, there's a restaurant that will make you a two-order meal that's delivered to your door.
This is what worries me. This is what worries me about, if I may editorialize for a moment, about my children who are 2 years old and the world they're going to grow. And I don't mind that the world, by the time they're teenagers, is just going to be legal. That doesn't bother me at all. I think that's kind of great. What does bother me is, like, they're not going to know. Like, they're going to grow up in a world where somebody will cook you a gourmet meal with 6 courses, all of which have THC in them. I'm like, that's not smoking pot.
It's not. They're not going to know. They're not going to know what it's like to pull out the one-hitter at the Dave Matthews Band concert. They won't know.
It sort of scares me.
After dark.
After dark. After dark. Did you see they're using, Jason, did you see they're using MDMA to treat anxiety? In I think it's in Washington State they're starting to use that. Guys, did you hear that?
No,
Did you see that story? MDMA is the
well, it was called X when I was a kid. Now they call it Molly, right?
Oh, okay.
I think exactly. It's the active ingredient in ecstasy. Thank you, Jason. Yes.
Well, you see it again. I was going to Google.
No, you gotta if you're googling, you gotta Google the Saturday Night Live commercial where they did a breakfast cereal now with MDMA, and it's like Will Ferrell. And he's wearing one of those crazy Cat in the Hat hats. And he gets it's like a cereal commercial. It's so funny.
Glow sticks. Raven. Serious business.
Wow.
Did you guys see the speech from what is her name? Jennifer. I'm looking it up right now. That was at the that this woman gave at the Black Hat conference last week. It was Jennifer Granick.
No.
Oh my goodness.
What was it about? Hacking Cherokees.
She started her professional life as a advocate for where is it? Sheriff. She was a prison advocate in the San Francisco Sheriff's Department, and she represented a guy who was looking at 6 months or more in jail for basically what he was doing was he was doing the old school pay steal. So he was hooting. He was sending tones into payphones so he could steal, phone calls. You ever heard?
You mean like on War Games?
Exactly.
He got caught.
He got caught, and he was looking at
practice.
Yep.
I want to know how they caught him.
Well, hey, look it up for sure. And so that's how she started. She's like, this is really interesting. And so she's talking about the death of internet freedom, and how we should be all military. We should be motivated to start turning back the scales. And I thought it was very interesting.
Oh God, I'm so with that, but I almost think the solution isn't to try and gain back the 1998 version of the internet because it's just not coming back. You just got to find what the new thing will be.
That's what she's saying, basically. She's not saying to turn it back. She's saying to
because it's possible.
Right. She's saying to understand what freedom is and how we just read the article. I'm not gonna.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to subvert her words. It's very interesting.
Line by line, in a computer voice.
Tell it. It's actually also on YouTube if you want to just watch it.
My first DEF CON
20 years ago. She's very interesting. It's a great speech.
Bob's like, I don't know why I showed up for this show. These guys are just a bunch of wankers talking about nothing important here.
Revolution won't be televised here, Ed. It's going to be on podcasts.
Wankers is a word that's sort of in between swearing and not swearing. So.
Yeah, I love it. It's English swearing. They can say all sorts of stuff over there.
Speaking of wanking off, Ed, did you ever get to the bottom of that?
Hey, that's taking it too far. Now you're putting it into...
No, but I got to hear the second half of this sentence.
We're after dark. We're after dark here, Ed. Did you ever get to the bottom of that if-else-if thread? Whatever happened there?
You know, I feel like you didn't read it?
I couldn't follow it.
There's two threads going on. So I
it's
got
like Dostoevsky over there. There's no
period. Right. Mm-hmm. So, no, I didn't get to the bottom of it, but I decided that, you know what, I'm spending so much time trying to answer this question. I'm basically saying the same thing over and over, but I'm not connecting with what the guy's trying to do. I'm not getting it. I don't understand why he doesn't understand my answer. So I just told him, if you're using one of my templates, just mark it up, put these initials in the part where you think is important, and mail it to me. It'll be quicker. But you have to be willing for me to post that code to the forum so that people can see what we were trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's a good compromise.
So if he doesn't want to do that, that's... Yeah, but I'm spending too much time trying to answer the question, and we're just not understanding each other. I don't know why.
It's hard to do.
I couldn't follow it through that. Like, I didn't know if there was anything after that or if I was missing something.
Well, I'm not helping a lot because he asked a question, and I gave a piece of code that demonstrated the concept of using modulo math to decide when something occurs or when something doesn't occur, to do, like, you know, every time that's 0, that's when you want to have the action. So I thought he was asking, you want to do this every other time? And he said every 2 times. But what he really meant is like 2 times on, 2 times off, sort of like some kind of weird alternative version. So,
which is an interesting way to come at the tic-tac-toe game. Like,
Yeah, I don't even want to think about what that means, because you can't play tic-tac-toe if somebody gets to take 2 turns. That guy's going to win right away.
Right. Like the guy going first. Like, it's really just a coin flip app. So it's like whoever gets to go first is the one who...
Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to do. I think he's just, you know, I gave away that template for free so people would have something to look at.
No, totally. I think it's great. I mean,
I'm assuming it's a he, too. I don't know if Major's a he or she, so if the person's listening and I got the sex wrong, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to go with the gender-neutral they.
Yet another thing, I'm going to say 1. I'm not sure what 1 is trying to do. The problem with the forums is it's really hard sometimes to understand. Either you got a barrier in terms of the person's language or their experience or the vocabulary they're using versus how you would say it. So we're not connecting, and no matter how much I write, we're getting further apart. We're diverging.
You know what, Rob? I just had an idea for possible forum improvement. Throw up a flag icon showing the country where a person's coming from. So it can help you get to the bottom of what their native language might be without them needing to spell it out exclusively.
I want the Texas flag.
The country.
I will see what we can do.
I don't know.
That's a flag that just says "Yeehaw!"
Well, it's just so that, like, you know, let's say you're communicating with somebody. The English is good enough that you might be tempted to think they're from the United States, but you see, you know, a German flag, and you go, oh, okay, maybe this is the cause of our miscommunication.
Yeah, I feel especially bad when, like, I kind of get irked with somebody, and it's kind of like bleeding through when I respond, and then I find out
that never happens.
Has already been bending over backwards trying to understand English.
I think that should be an in-app purchase, though. I think that should be an in-app purchase. Buy a flag, kind of like in Clash of Clans. You
gotta monetize the forums.
I feel like a total jerkwad.
I want to bring this up before I forget because I posted a link in the chat earlier. Because when Alex mentioned a conference speech, there's a link there. I think it's an older speech. It might be from a year ago, but Gama Sutra posted it on their Twitter feed this week, and it's this really good. And it's like a 4 or 5 minute speech, just about every game idea under the sun's been done. What you're doing is probably not completely brand new or original, but you should do it anyway. It's got this. It's sort of self-helpy and motivational type thing, but I think it's well done, and it's a decent little I don't know, cheerleader type of thing. It sort of makes you, it encourages you to stick with it. It's a good speech worth listening to.
Cool. And this is like, was this posted August 14th? Is it the one you're talking about?
Yeah, let me see. It was.
Yeah, but it looks like it's from GDC
2014.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I tell people, if you've got an idea, somebody else somewhere right now is having that idea. So if you think it's a good idea, go do it. Otherwise, shut up and get out.
Well, but what's really great about it is, and they put a couple of quotes in this article. It says, in under 5 minutes, Harper explains how old news is still news to someone, so you should continue to make your game because, quote, your story is still yours, and besides, good stories are worth repeating. Now, I want to be clear, she's not, advocating make a clone, make it exactly the same thing, but it's the notion that you shouldn't necessarily be discouraged. You shouldn't rack your brain until you're coming up with a thing that's so groundbreaking, and it still has worth, even if it's, it could be labeled derivative.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. I think
love,
everything's derivative nowadays.
Yeah, there's nothing new. I mean, they're rebooting The Crow. I mean, there's no new idea anymore. And exactly.
Are they going to shoot another actor?
Too soon.
I don't know, man. R.I.P. Brandon Lee for sure. But I mean, there's no new ideas. And what I always used to say, I mean, we see, you see people in the forums. They come up and they go, "Hey, I was actually just looking at a forum post from like years ago, and somebody was like, hey, I really want to use, famous actors. Rob, you chimed in at the end of this post. They were like, I want to use famous actors in my game. Like, do you think I'll get sued? And I was like, look, man, if you, like, I'm not an actor, and, I'm not a lawyer. Here's the thing, even if we in this forum said that you could do it, that's not going to be a defense in court.
That's not going to help you at all.
Dude, right.
My friend said I could jump off the bridge and live.
Corona said I could do it. It's like, oh shit. Well then, no, you must be able to. Go ahead.
Must be legal.
But like, if you have that much conviction, if you can make another Uber and you think that your app has legs, then there's no reason not to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go after it. But if you have for a doubt for 2 seconds that you think that your app isn't going to make it, if you really need to think hard and be like, wait, should I or should I not make this? I mean, try it out. Make yourself a proof of concept. If it works, great. If it doesn't, exactly. There you go, Ed. Or Rob. That's what I got. Disclaimer. I was confused. I was like, wait, am I on the payroll now? Have my checks been going somewhere else? It's like,
I keep that little text file on my desktop.
For the viewers or listeners, Rob just posted a nice little legal disclaimer to the chat.
Yeah. It's sad that we even have to worry about disclaiming anything. But people are so happy nowadays.
Well, I mean, for me, it actually goes back to the early days of Usenet and, like all the different forums that were on there, and people would say, you tell them, your advice based on what you knew, and somebody would come back, well, that's not true for this state. It's, it's this different way, and, we're not lawyers, we're developers, and I can't go offering you legal advice. I mean, that's what lawyers are for.
Even the legal websites will tell you that this is not legal assistance, right? It's
even lawyers don't want to stick it out there.
Yeah, they'll tell you it's basically the equivalent.
Just because I'm a lawyer doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah, I mean they will tell you that they don't they're not giving you legal advice. They're just giving you self-help.
Hired and paid me. I could be getting this wrong.
Exactly. You're gonna have to retain.
Your mileage may vary.
I need a retainer before I start giving you.
I usually win sometimes, occasionally.
Speaking of winning, did anybody see the duo of forum posts that Chris threw up? Chris, are you on? You're just hanging out until we...
He's muted.
Yeah.
He's rocking the new elephant icon.
Which is dope. But he put up the eventable module that he made that shows you, or basically takes care of requiring... I wish he was on so he would talk about it. But it basically allows you to reference your Lua tables from every single other module that you have. Did he unmute? There he is. All right, Chris, go ahead. No? Still nothing? His mic is busted.
Maybe you want some fanfare on the way in. Let me see.
No, can you post a link to this one, Alex?
Yeah, I'll throw it up right now.
About.
So it's tight. I thought it was super cool. I'm definitely going to be talking about it on Friday.
Check.
But
check.
I can hear you checking, Chris. We can hear you.
Okay. Now you can come in. Again?
Chris needs to come in like a wrecking ball.
Chris is probably like, well, my damn microphone's not working.
Son of a bitch. So,
Can anybody hear me now, or am I just hearing myself?
Oh, we hear you now.
We hear you. We got you.
It's like overmodulated or something. It's really fuzzy.
Fuzzy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be.
Keep talking, Chris.
Yeah.
How about now? Anything?
No, really low, really fuzzy.
Turn it up now. Yeah,
How
turn
about
it up.
now? Whoa. How about now? Nothing, huh?
Nice and smooth.
I'm hearing a little. It sounds like the hamburger.
While Chris gets himself sorted.
This is like the regular hangout. Everybody's a little bit more flippant. So
welcome to the Corona Geek After Dark.
Checking my audio stuff right now.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Michael.
So, just so I'll plug Chris while he's working his mic out. Basically, what if you guys pull up that link, Eventable or Eventable, I don't want to mispronounce, but basically what it is it lets you, I think, reference your, like I said, your tables in every other module that you have. So once you're requiring Eventable, I'm going to go ahead and share. Where are we at?
Check.
We got you, Chris.
Still low and fuzzy. Not a euphemism.
Check.
So once you actually reference, Eventable, it'll actually allow you to reference that in every other module and every other scene that you happen to actually create with your code there. That would be cool in and of itself, but then Chris came along and blew everybody out of the water with the Spotify module. Did everybody see this?
I did see that one.
That's the new hotness right there. Chris is crushing it, which is actually super cool.
Spotify module.
I really hope that he works it out so he can tell us about it. I know the last time he was on, he was talking about all the fresh hot dope shit he was working on, and so I don't want to steal his thunder. I just wanted to give him a nice intro.
Yeah, we don't have a thunder sound effect. Sorry.
We don't.
Yeah.
So you gotta
I'm already suggesting that Chris at least do the Spotify thing as a Lua plugin.
Yeah.
That way he can protect the source code from doing it, and also even like his mod parse and stuff like that. I think would make potential good plugins.
Oh, definitely.
I think all sorts of RESTful API stuff. Like I have a module right now that I used in an app I did for a client last year that has what's the name of the not SurveyMonkey? What's the one that sends out email lists?
MailChimp.
So I have like a MailChimp thing that will allow you to sign people up. And I keep meaning to package. I was going to package it up as a module, but I think I'm hoping to do it as a plugin and just throw it up there because I think there's lots of web tools out there that have great RESTful APIs that are just ripe for packaging up.
Yeah, somebody just asked for a PayPal.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I saw that because Danny had his, and then he open sourced that.
This is the enterprise plugin.
Oh, okay.
But they've got a RESTful API. I don't know why everybody calls it RESTful, but a REST API. RESTful? I don't understand the difference.
RESTful is a thing, isn't it? I didn't make that
full
up.
of REST. It's not just rest.
Yeah,
it's full
REST is the acronym, R-E-S-T.
Sure.
Find out what it means to me. App Store
I can't remember.
Store plugin is hype. I agree with you, Mike. That's the hot shit. Hopefully, I'm sure Chris
That's
can knock
new.
it in there.
Don't think I'm not keeping track.
I'm
up on one.
I'm enjoying it. I've got a nice little hot toddy over here. I'm trying to defy the weather.
Oh,
It's
I see.
like
Blame it on the hot toddy.
it is. It's like 95%
I'm drinking
humidity.
water, so
You're staying hydrated. I'm trying to do the same. I go with the hot liquid so I forget how hot it is
you
outside.
can't stay hydrated with liquor.
I go both.
Oh, hey, Jason, I wasn't chastising you. You probably got that, but I was just mentioning that you responded to that post earlier. I don't know why, but GitHub posts.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't take it as chastising at all.
Okay,
It's a helpful tip because I just did a copy and paste from my address bar, and I didn't bother to click the link to check it. And,
yeah, no.
And you're right
I
with
do that, and then I get people who can't figure out how to copy a link and just paste it in their bar. Then I want to yell at them instead. I just go click.
So I'm confused. So what is Eventable?
So
Eventable?
Eventable is
Rewinding.
Now.
That's a mod. You know, it's a plugin that Chris created.
Yeah.
Chris, is your mic working yet? I don't
know. It went crazy on me.
There you go.
Yeah, we can hear you. That's good enough.
There are the dulcet tones.
Just yell. Everybody will think you're angry, but it'll work.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't know what happened to my system. Okay, anyways. Eventable. Yeah, Eventable was just kind of like it's just kind of like craziness for tables. If sometimes people, I mean, obviously it's not probably best practice, but it doesn't use like any globals as far as like main global. Basically what it does is it just allows you to kind of have an eventing system on your tables, which like display objects you can do eventing and dispatching, and so it's just basically adding that to tables with just like a real simple meta table added to it. So it's pretty cool. I'm big on event-driven programming. So
if the data in the table changes, then you can track that. Is that what we're saying?
An event that basically like you can set up one table to or many tables to listen for a specific event. And then any table anywhere can send that event, and then anybody listening will receive that event in the tables.
So, do you have an example of how this would be used in an app? Can you use that in a sentence, please? Yeah,
can you share your screen, Chris, or I can share it real quick if you can't.
Because the first thing that goes through my mind is Meteor, right? Is a fairly new platform. And anytime that you are connected to a Mongo database and data in the database changes, then all that stuff gets bubbled back up right as an event or reactive whatever data source, and then the data on the screen gets updated just by something happening in the database. So if somebody on the other end on a different browser updates something, then all the connected clients update at the same time. So I'm thinking this sounds like something similar.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You can have, there's a demo. I think there's a demo in the project file. You could have. I tested it on like 2,000 tables or something like that, and it takes a tiny bit of a memory hit, but everything was still working great. So you could basically do things like, this might be interesting for things like enemies on the screen, because you can have each enemy, as you can add an event to it or have it listen for a specific event, and then you can have another table somewhere else that handles other things, message out. It just sends out one message like, all dead, and then all those other tables pick that up, and then they can respond to that how they want to.
Cool.
So you could have it one-to-one, you could have it one-to-many, you could have it many-to-one. It's pretty much exactly the same kind of system that you have in Node. It's just an eventing system. It's an emitter and a listener.
But this is still within your app, or is it server side?
This
Or both?
is straight Lua. It's just a module that sits in your project.
Okay.
Chris, if I can. Sorry, Charles.
I was going to say because I know you have you do Lua code on the server and Chromium and stuff like that, so I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, no, this one was this is no
This is client side.
server side stuff, and then the obviously the Spotify same thing.
Right.
And,
Chris, sorry.
So the I was gonna show off a little bit tonight, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to. I'm a little tired, but basically what I'm working on is a system that will allow Corona developers access to about 100 APIs, and that will be directly, that you can implement into your projects in just a handful of lines of code. And that handles automatically all of the authentication stuff for the 2.0 flow, and then it's real easy endpoints to access any of those APIs. It's easier to see than to explain, but I'm probably going to start showing some of that off soon. So you can do things where I can pick like Imgur and Tumblr, and I can actually mix them together through API calls, just using just real simple like one-liners. So
you're saying that you can implement you can use. So Chris, you're saying that you could have multiple OAuth APIs from different web services, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it handles it all.
That's so kick-ass.
And now that's a server thing, so the server becomes the kind of the conduit.
Right.
And then at that point, it handles all of the authentication, stuff like that. And then, every API, they obviously have kind of their own setup and their own endpoints. And so what this does is not only does it handle the authentication, but then you can just call with a line like, Tumblr get, and then use one of their endpoints, and then it'll bring back a Lua table of all that data. So, and you'll be able to do this with about 100 different services, and so I'm pretty excited about it. It's probably one of the coolest things I've worked on.
That's so tight, for sure.
So are you going to put a tip jar or something on this?
Yes, seriously.
I mean, seriously. I know I bring that up every week, like how are you going to make money on this? But yeah, at least put a jar out and give people the opportunity.
I am approaching this one from a service, kind of service-oriented perspective. So
you need to monetize this yesterday, Chris. Like you should have all of the money. Like this doesn't make any sense.
On the subject of OAuth, I was looking at the PayPal API, and it does require OAuth 2.0. And I don't know that I've ever seen anybody in the forum say they've ever successfully done 2.0. But in searching around, I found somebody that was offering it for like $1.
You see that on Gumroad, Ed or Rob?
I'm not sure where I saw it. I was just Googling around.
I feel like somebody has solved this in a completely Lua-based solution.
Yeah, but I think that would make an excellent plugin for the store. Because there's so many REST APIs are going to OAuth 2.0.
I'm definitely going to take up your suggestion and convert. I mean, it seems like the process is pretty simple, so I'm going to convert them, convert them all over to.
Somebody's too smart when they say, "Oh, that OAuth 2 thing, yeah, that's pretty simple."
The thing is that OAuth itself, it is and isn't simple. There's tons of different it's actually considered a framework, not even a straight ahead deal like Auth 1.0 was. So there's lots of different implementations of it, and then the other thing is each API will they all have their own ways of you getting access tokens and things like that. So it's like even if you can solve the problem of the OAuth, which is a big one, you still have the issue of having to make sure you put the proper headers together. You do some services require special kind of hash signatures. So what this would do is this basically just kind of consolidates all that into just kind of takes care of itself. Am I screen sharing right now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
This is there's no front end any of this stuff yet because.
Am I fully clothed right now?
What's that?
Sorry.
So basically, this you guys know the terminal, so I can show you this. This is just basic. This is the simple code of how it kind of works. Like this is for Imgur API. Basically, it's this kind of this one-liner here. Let me see if I.
Imgur, is that how you pronounce it, Chris?
Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
It's Imager,
Imgur.
bro. I'm user sub all the way.
Anyways. And so, if you want that API, then you put in the name. There's a special identifier for each service. Then if you want to, some services require extra parameters. That's where that can go. And then because of the auth workflow, you got to kind of handle it a little bit differently because you can initialize the object, but then your user may not be authenticated. So if that's the case, then it's going to kind of go into this alternative flow. So basically what you would do is set ahead of time, declare your APIs that you want to use, and then in this case, Imager or whatever is being called. I'm calling the API for it, and then you pass it a listener basically saying, hey, when I'm ready, and that means that it's been authenticated and all the tokens have been collected. Call that, call this listener and let me know that I'm ready, and then you can do that. And then at that point, there's some different things you can do. You could set the prefix. Most APIs have usually like some versioning prefix or something. This was not prepared, so it's kind of messy right now. But basically what I was doing here in the middle of this test was calling the Imager API, then calling Tumblr, which I also set up. And again, it's the same kind of thing. Here I just put Tumblr API, and then I want the OAuth.API Tumblr, and then I do the Tumblr ready, etc. And then what I'm doing is I just have a little, I called Imgur first, I have a little timer, and then that's going to call Tumblr and blah, blah, blah. So then what's supposed to happen at that point is here I have my Tumblr get, which is this, I'm getting some information from one of the blogs. And that stuff you can just get, this is just all the APIs. So, Tumblr, this is their API, so I went through and here's one of their endpoints, and you don't have to deal with any of the API beginning part, and so you just want to grab the last parts of these different APIs. So in this case, I just grabbed this blog, good Tumblr info. That's a get method, so I use the get, and then I'm gonna wait for the content to come back. And then for Imgur, I do the same thing, except for this time I'm just grabbing my account, or the me basically means whatever account has been authenticated. So your user, it would be your user. But you can use me as a shortcut. And then I'm saying grab the gallery favorites for that content. And that, again, is just picked up from, the API. This is, I just got it from the API page here. And then hopefully, and it actually was working a second ago, so let's hope it still is.
Was this a test to make sure that the APIs would work with each other?
Yeah, I wanted to see if I set up my my class properly so that there was no
no bleed over or anything like that.
Or bleed over. Now the thing that's so basically what happened here is I've already logged into I've already authenticated for Imgur, so it already went through and just skipped that. If you've already got tokens, then it's not going to put you through the process again. So now I'm at Tumblr because I have not allowed Tumblr access, or Tumblr hasn't allowed me access. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
We're not seeing anything different if you're showing us an app.
Oh.
We're still seeing your code.
Oh.
We shared your code window instead of the whole
desktop. Missed a whole bunch.
Sorry.
Go back to the part of where you, the Imgur.
Let's see if I can do this screen share properly. I think what happened was maybe I.
You were probably just sharing one window, one tab.
And as a tip, you won't be able to share just the Corona simulator.
How about that?
There you go.
Window here. You can see the console window now? Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I was showing you guys a bunch of stuff here. Here's all the little API pages where I got all the information from.
Oh, cool.
So it's pretty straightforward. You just go through their docs. And then basically what I was doing again real quick, I was doing a test. I was calling 2 different APIs and having the authentication be taken care of in the background. All you have to do is provide your keys for your server or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then as you can see, I start getting everything's already been authenticated between the 2 services. I just picked those calls out of the documentation. This first list here is the Imgur my gallery call I made. And then the one right above it here is the Tumblr call I made, so then I have access to that Tumblr data as well. So you could see how you could actually do kind of interesting applications just by mixing data from different APIs. So I just did this test this evening for 2 APIs working together. So it's definitely looks like it's going to work as far as being able to instance out multiple sessions of APIs.
You got a winner on your hands here, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I just
really
want to reiterate, whatever you do,
I kind of didn't want to show it right now because, but yeah, you can do about 100. It's going to be able to do about 100 services, almost all the whole Google suite, basically everything. So.
You
really
do a lot of stuff for free, but I want to hear this noise.
Yeah, it's so hard if everybody giving away stuff for free. I think we'll see how it goes. It'll either be the some monetization on the plugin side somehow, even though I don't think that's implemented yet. And if not, then it would be some really cheap developer service. I mean, you can get similar services, but the cheapest one is like $20. So I'm definitely going to undercut that dramatically for developers. Maybe like $5. And if you go,
And don't forget what Rob said. You could definitely. Let me turn my volume down. You could definitely do this as a plugin, at least the client-side stuff. That way you protect all your.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I put a link in the chat to a conversation that's happening in the Meteor community, and they have packages similar to modules, and what's happening there is the conversation is kind of coming around to developers are looking for ways that they can monetize these things, right? They don't necessarily want to close the source, and they don't want to try to squelch community and all the things the benefits that go along with it. But at some point, they're like, look, I got to pay the bills, and I got to eat, and so there's some really good conversations going on there about how do you monetize this, right? And a lot of that stuff is. There was one where the guy was talking about it's open source, but I still charge. And the part that he was charging for is basically support. The software is out there. It's out there. It's free. But if you need me to spend time and energy on something, then you have to pay me for that, right? And so I think that's where this comes down to, because I can see you're putting out all this great software. People can go out and use it. There's all this great documentation. I think most developers will recognize the value and be willing to pay something for that, and especially if they can get support, right? Especially if they could have their questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because Chris, you're doing above and beyond both just the content you create, and then you go and you've got like this super uber documentation. I mean,
Don't forget that
I don't
voice,
want to
Ed.
see you
Don't
not
forget
getting
that voice.
That's right. That's just a bonus.
Yeah,
money.
just got to, I'm kind of in this new world.
And I have to
too,
say
you
one
know,
more
it's like,
thing.
how do you
You're like
monetize
twice as
this
hip
stuff?
as me because you've got Imager or Imgur. I don't know.
Imager?
And Tumblr, neither of which I'm like using. I had to go look them up. I'm so
Yeah,
unhip, I
they're
hurt myself.
definitely for the kids. Well, not
So,
totally for the kids, but
and Chris, I think I might have missed at the very beginning of all this. So you were talking about you're going to have like, a whole bunch of different services that this talks to. Are you talking about just sort of having like a unified like social networking type of plugin that can access with one plugin access a whole bunch of different services?
yeah,
Or
I'm basing this off of an open source project, as all of my other server projects are. The reason I'm excited about this is because I did some really good reverse engineering to get this figured out, especially for Lua. So, and especially for Corona. So, to get that figured out, I was pretty excited. Basically, what's going to happen? Yes, there is a front end, and that part I have not finished yet. And basically, you'll sign up and you'll pick which you create an app, and then you assign which APIs you want to have accessible in that application. You can whitelist a domain and do things like that. The trick with that is you just use localhost because you're using your browser, so that kind of tricks it into returning it back to you, the information that you need. And from there, you'll just you just pick the services you want, and then there's an API key, a public key that you'll use, and you use that to initialize the plugin.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's a matter again, after you've added and given authorization for the APIs for your specific app, then we go back into this mode where it's just basically, okay, well, I added Google Cloud, or I added Orkut, or whatever. You just put in its identifier in here, which you'll be able to see in your dashboard, and then you're good to go. And then from there, you just go through this process, and then you can make the calls just the same. If you go to their APIs, you should find these endpoints, and then you can use each endpoint usually has a different method. So then there's the gets provided for you, the post is provided, the delete, and the put. And then you just read their documentation and fill in the appropriate information, and you're good to go.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's still got a ways to go. Just to, I just want to make sure that there's like some good error handling and checking and stuff like that. And then the front end stuff's still a little bit of work, but it's all based on an API, so it shouldn't take too long. We'll whip up a little Angular, and I'll be ready to have testers. I'd love to have some people test it, and kind of a first private test just to kind of bang on it and see what kind of weird stuff could happen.
Me first.
I noticed you're using Atom as your editor.
Oh yeah. That's
you like it?
That's my new baby.
Do you like it?
I love it. It's for the hardcore. There's no Corona thing built in. There's no, you're not getting, nobody's holding your hand here, but
look at this
love
fucking
it. I really like the fluidity of it. It's got some great like linters for Lua and just the different languaging, and then it's completely hackable, and it's all JavaScript. So of course I've had some fun making some of my own little hacks on it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I might have to check that out. I'm still using freaking Text Wrangler, and I tried Sublime Text. I really tried to get on the Sublime Text bandwagon, and it just didn't.
Yeah, I paid the $75 for Sublime, and now I'm just kind of like, well,
maybe you can
Sublime's
sell
great,
that
no
with a
doubt
license,
about it, and especially for Corona stuff. But
Yeah, no, it's totally capable. It's not an issue. It just didn't gel for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree. I've been using Atom now for about a month.
What the heck is that? Who's strangling the cat over there? Somebody's moving their office furniture around.
That was me.
Alex,
Sorry
is
about
that
that.
you? Yeah.
Fell out of my chair.
What are you making butter over there? What are you doing?
I'm just churning. I'm just making it work, man. Somebody smashed an Escalade into my garage. I'll be right back.
Yeah, right. Good lord.
I was in the military, but I don't know Morse code. Sorry, I cannot help you.
Sorry about that, guys.
Chris, you've got me curious. I'm downloading Atom right now.
Yeah, I am too. I put a link in the chat.
Like I said, it's
I'm not doing that anymore. I'm completely ignoring everything you guys post in this thing.
Kind of like.
Otherwise, I spend a whole day following up on interesting stuff. I'm insulating myself from anything new.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the reason that I saw the folders on the right-hand side, and they were indented.
Yeah.
And maybe you can do this in Sublime. I don't know, but the lack of distinction between folder hierarchies drives me insane.
Yeah, you have to. You'll definitely have to go customize. They got some good, some cool screens and all built in to pick the plugins and stuff. But the one that I have for my folders is like a custom. It's called like icon folders, and they'll change color. It all hooks into your Git too, or whatever.
Is that a theme or a package?
It's like let's see. That one is a package. I think it's called icon. Folder or color icon or something like that. Actually, I could just look at mine.
FYI, guys, I don't know if you guys are super users like Chris, but I like to use TextMate, which also has the in-window browser, and it already has it does have formatting for Lua.
Cool.
If anybody cares about that.
Boy, you always tell users. I'm telling you.
I'd never used a linter for Lua before, and that's the coolest thing. I had no
Tell us what linters does again, because I just had to look this up the other day, and I don't really remember.
It kind of it's kind of looking for the structure, and it shows you where you messed up or where there's an error. It makes
yeah, it kind of is parsing your code as you work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Anyways,
or you can post process
icons.
Yeah.
The one that does that.
What's
Stuff. Anyways, you don't have to do anything special for any of your Git or HG stuff. You just it senses the folder, and then it'll show you, what's been updated, what's been changed just by changing the folder colors. And then you can actually, if you do want to integrate it even more, you can push right there from your the text editor right to your Git or whatever. So.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got some good visual specs and.
And what did you say you had color icons? What was the name of the thing?
It's called File Icons.
File Icons.
It's in packages.
Cool.
Anyways, there's a bunch in there. There's a lot of cool little plugins for stuff, especially if you're working multi-language. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of different stuff, so it's like I'm jumping all over the place. So this thing's saving my life. That's for sure.
Yeah. I kind of I like some features of Sublime. I mean, I like that I hit command. What is it what is the command / or something like that, and it'll comment things, and and it'll do the comments based on the language that you're in. So
yeah,
it'll either do HTML comments, or it'll be Lua comments, or it'll be JavaScript comments, or.
Yeah, it's definitely. Cool. I mean, Atom, is not a paid product, and so it's a big open source, but it's backed by GitHub, and so it's you're not going to, like I said, I think that in some cases, of course, it's a little bit of a backstep, but I don't mind at all, because for me, I don't need constant pop-ups and stuff.
It looks like
in a language.
It looks like it doesn't have Lua highlighting built in out of the box.
No, it's pretty raw. Everything else, you have to do most of the stuff through the packaging. So
lightweight.
You just go into the Atom, and then settings, packages, I think or install is the selection, and then just tap in Lua. The way they kind of made it, just they call it the hackable editor, so that you can kind of make it into yours or whatever.
Yeah. If you add language-Lua, we get syntax highlighting.
We brought this up on a Corona Geek some time ago.
Dropping knowledge over here.
So that's where I first heard of it.
Ed, how about those Windows guys talk? Yeah, Ed, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I wanted to know what you're using.
I use Sublime.
Yeah, you're a Sublime guy.
I paid for it. I'm using it. Dang it.
It's not.
I used to use Microsoft Visual Studio, but somebody around here made so much fun of me that I just couldn't do it anymore. Actually, I like Visual Studio. I still use it for a number of things.
And it's free now.
It is.
Well, I don't use the free one. I use the one I paid for.
It's not going to be a box up on your shelf, Ed. You got to make sure you're using it.
I got it. Actually, I got a box on my shelf.
You still use the front page 95?
The fandangled ones are no good.
Fandangled ones.
They're no good. I use Notepad++. I'm old. I'm an old man.
Yeah, I was dying to jump in there when Lint came up, and Charles was like, "What's Lint?" Lint is an old tool from back in the Wild West days of C. Way back in the day, when C was new, there were lots of different interpretations of how you would, what things you could do with it, and how you could structure the libraries and stuff. And so there was the spec, and then there was the non-spec way. So Lint was a tool to make sure that you stayed with the specified actual way you're supposed to be using C, not the way the manufacturer decided that they were going to implement it.
Gotcha. Well, I just know that I come across, here's the thing that I always come across these days in web development. You've got your kind of old school sort of HTML crowd, right? That's still kind of rocking Dreamweaver and stuff like that. Then you've got the people who actually want to get stuff done. And then you've got these super ninjas who are all like, yeah, I set up my linter and I did, I got it all. Oh, I can't remember all the terms. There's like hooking all this stuff up. They spent 2 hours hooking up all this crap, and I'm like,
those are like badges of honor for.
It is. It really is.
That's the fun.
It is.
Those are a lot of students or like people who are really intensely into just the idea of the components of programming and
right, yeah, and they're just full on. They've got all these tools. I mean, you see some blog posts where they're like, you got to set up this and you got to set up that, you got to do this, and I'm like, I want to like make things work and just.
That's like music theory, though, Charles. That's like music theory when you're in college. You're learning about the actual music. You're not actually making it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Jason's back, by the way. He killed himself and then he came back.
Oh, okay. Let me let him in.
Respawn.
Let me let him in.
You had to let him back in.
I want to know what Steven's using down there to build his AA titles.
Oh, he's back again. Jason has duplicated himself. Whatever you're doing, stop it, Jason.
That's funny.
Well, I got to bounce. I got dinner time, so it was good seeing y'all.
Thanks, Chris.
Now the microphone's working.
Chris.
Have a good week, everybody.
You
All
too.
right, you take care.
Chris. Take care, man.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Well, I do use Visual Studio at the office.
All right.
So there's another one of us.
For I knew there was going to be another programmer in the group. I actually know there's a few programmers.
Well,
I'll just shut my mouth now before somebody
it's
says
C# and C++. I use ZeroBrain for.
Do you use ZeroBrain? Yeah.
And I used to use Coda, but they stopped supporting it, so
You switched.
and it was broken at the time.
Was it?
Wow. Somebody's hungry, or what the hell was that noise?
Oh, I'm right on the street.
So you gotta have
right
the
on
window open. It's hot down there.
That's what it sounded like. Is a minor imp wanting to come through the gate, or?
An Escalade crashing into the garage. It's craziness.
Yeah, right.
Okay, maybe not quite as bad as that.
So,
Hey. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Charles. I don't
No,
know
go
anything
ahead.
cool.
No, let's go ahead. Go ahead. No, sorry, after you.
I haven't.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, wait. No, you go. You go ahead. No, by all means, you go.
Okay, why don't we just all talk?
So, what have you got? I saw nothing really that was like that I thought was a pressing kind of a cool issue, except for Chris's stuff, and I'm really happy that he was online to talk about it. But I actually saw somebody that was talking about wanting to build a file manager for their app specifically, just because they wanted to be able to import different documents and things like that into their I guess, into their app. I guess what was it specifically? Like they're making a sports game, and so if somebody wanted to like mod up their own roster, they wanted to be able to import it. And Rob, I answered this forum post and I actually linked to one of yours where you were talking about what kind of limitations you're going to see from an Android side as far as having a file manager inside of your app instead of the app being a file manager in and of itself. Do you remember? Did you see this forum post by any chance?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about the efficacy of having like a file manager inside of your app? Do you think it's kind of reinventing the wheel? Like, do you think it would just be better to have a server back end and just have folks kind of send it to themselves, quote unquote, and just bounce off of your server? Or do you think there's what kind of workarounds do you see as trying to get user created data into your app without having to use a server, let's say? What do you think is the best way to do that?
The idea of using a file manager is, well, I mean, if you're the developer and you want the data, you have to get to the device to run the file manager to get the data off. Or you have to have the user take responsibility to find that file and download it and get it to you somehow. So you want to take as much of that out of the equation as possible and simplify it so that the user will actually take the time to send you the data. So, at that point, having a server and they could just hit a send data button and then it puts it into a central repository where you can get to it. I mean, I assume the end goal for these apps is to have thousands upon people running it. And you're not going to be able to be very successful if you're depending on somebody to have to send you an email to get the data off. So, in my opinion, you want to. In fact, if you could do it in a way that was behind the scenes, of course, now you'd have to set a privacy policy. If you're collecting data without the user manually sending it to you. But even that's why we have analytics. They do things in the app, and you set analytics and collect that status. So, I mean, that's the least user invasive way is to do it automatically behind the scenes. But I don't know. There's a lot of use cases. I mean, if somebody is building a level design tool, and you want them to be able to send you the level, well, then it's upon the user to hit the send button when it's ready to be sent.
And I think that's what this particular user was trying to get at, basically. It's like, okay, they modified this piece of data, whatever it is. They want to get it into the app somehow to be read and then used. I don't aside from, I guess, like we were saying, like re-engineering the file manager specifically, so they would put it on the SD card, or I don't know what this guy's workflow is going to be specifically, so I don't really want to speak to that. But in my mind, I'm thinking that, they edit a, whatever. They've got the CSV file, they edit it, they get it onto their machine, onto their device somehow, and then they navigate to it, or they have, wouldn't it be, I don't think it would be really a smart move to have search my device now button in the app, because I don't think that would be all that efficient. I don't know what they would really how they would achieve this without having just a server.
I don't even know if they'd be able to do it.
Upload.
Would you have access outside of your little sandboxed arena?
You can access the virtual SD card on the machines if you know the path to it. And it varies from Android device to Android device, but it's usually, there's some virtual paths out there that will get you to where the photos are stored and music's downloaded and stuff like that, because that's actually outside of your app's sandbox.
Right.
But you could navigate to System Documents directory, because that would be protected. But still, on Android, you can use System Path for File to get to the SD card. So.
You know what I think is a real shame? Is on iOS we have this way. There was an article 2 years ago where we could email a file and then have a schema or scheme set up so that the app would be associated with that file extension, and then you could load it right into the app. And I always kept wishing that we would get something like that for Android. I know you're like, well, give us some more work, but you know what I'm talking about, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't even know if something like that is available. I'm getting a phone call. Just check and see if it's important. I don't know who it is. It's not important. But I don't even know if you can do that kind of thing with Android. But on my wish list. Because I used that for a game. I used that for a game where you could make your own match 3 boards and sounds and gems and backgrounds and stuff and send them to your friends. And that was really cool, except I could never do it on Android, so I'm kind of like, well, okay. It's an iOS-only game.
Let me ask this question. I'm gonna change the topic again, and Rob's gonna be angry when I change this topic because I wanted to say, did anybody else see the thread where there was a debate? I guess it wasn't even really called a debate. It was just a kind of a one-sided conversation going on about the 2-machine license limit. Did anybody see that one?
Oh, I am very familiar with that thread.
I know. That's why I say Rob's going to be upset with me. But I mean, Rob, I think now would be a good time to kind of talk about why it's like I don't really care personally. Like I thought that having, I mean, I think it would be cool if it wasn't. But then who cares if it isn't? Like I don't really. It's not really no skin off my nose, so to speak. So I know Tom talked about it a little bit in the thread.
It basically comes down to kind of really 3 things, but they're all basically the same. We want to be able to identify an individual developer, and if we remove that limit or we up it to 6 or 7, then all of a sudden we're going to have teams of people using one email address. And Enterprise still requires a paid license. And this is all checked on a server on the back end. And there's a lot of logic code that is in our system to validate that. And it would just be too much of an effort to kill it out of the SDK product because it's free. And then comes plugins. Eventually we want to offer paid plugins. And we'll need to be able to license them. And we don't want one person to buy the plugin once and have everybody just use that email address and get it for free. It's not a perfect security system, but it's what we've got. And, other than the fact that Corona SDK is free, pretty much a lot of other software packages like Adobe, you can run it on 2 machines. And that's a reasonable limit that we're used to in the software community. And, because you're not having to pay for it, create a second email address for work, and then get 2 more licenses for work.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes
it's
sense to me.
reasonable for an individual to have 2 licenses, and then if you got to do a work thing, just have a work email address.
I mean, we've got bigger fish to fry than upping the count of licenses you can get on the free accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, my feeling on this is not unlike my feeling with your optometrist, not liking it if you don't buy the things. It's just, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking the question.
No?
The question was answered, and I felt like there was a bit of sour grapes, and it was sort of like, I get the frustration, but yeah, move on.
Well, I don't want to say I was frustrated with it. It just seems like we've answered that question a lot.
I think Jason was saying that the guy was frustrated.
Yeah, no, I think he was, unhappy with the, which I get, but at the same time, like you said, this is not a system that you guys invented.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from. He didn't get what he wanted, and when you don't get what you want, you can come off a little terse at times, and
yeah, no, and I don't think he
put
lost
off
any lines.
I do that all the time,
I should
even
be
without.
clear. I'm not trying to knock the guy, but it was sort of like, it's.
It got a little defensive.
The thread got a little. It felt a little hot, right?
Yeah. Even though I never really, it wasn't too much skin off my back. It is what it is. We're not going to change it. Move along.
Well, this is the other thing too, and this is the thing that I think sometimes people forget. you know, not to be a rah-rah company man here, but I think there were 3 Corona staff members who replied to this thread. That's sort of extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's why I saw it and I was like, well, I mean, I feel this dude, you know, he has questions. That's cool. Nobody's knocking the dude and nobody's knocking you, Rob, or Tom, and everybody else. I was jumping on the thread for sure. It was just an interesting interaction because I thought it kind of shed some light on how, you know, a company that technically is giving something away for free is doing something. And I agreed with Jason. I don't want to come off as a complete shill, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's free. It's pretty easy to use, and I mean, creating another email address isn't going to kill you. Now, at the same time,
I'm in the same boat. I would love to have more licenses.
Exactly.
I do have more than 2 computers that I use it on. This hit me today. I wanted to use my own Twitter plugin off my work computer, which has another one, and then when you build for device, it was like, hey, you're not registered for that.
Yep.
Speaking as the guy who developed the plugin, way to go.
You know, it may get to a point now that we're doing Windows desktop builds, because right now, you know, if you've got a Mac, you can build for both for iOS and Android without having to have another machine. But when you start saying, well, now I also want to build for Windows Phone, and I want to build for Windows Desktop, and I want to build for Mac OS X, you know, now all of a sudden my count of computers is growing. And so maybe I need that third one because I have a Mac at work and a Mac at home, and now I've got this third Windows machine that, you know, I need to be able to compile on. And so, you know, maybe we do need to consider, you know, adding a third computer into the mix because of that. But like I said, we've got other things to work on right now. So,
what kind of other things you working on, Rob?
I knew that was coming.
OS X builds and Windows builds and Facebook plugin, Fuse plugin, you know, stuff that we've been working on for a while.
Yeah.
Huh?
How is everything coming along there? What are the biggest problems?
I can't give you guys any dates, you know that. So.
Oh no dates. I was just curious.
Tell us the hour and the minute. That's all we really want.
Exactly.
Are there any Mac and/or Windows builds out in the wild that we know of?
At least one of the developers, Charles, do you remember who, has actually successfully published to the Mac store?
Fire Maple Apps, I think, is one of the ones that is working his way through the approval process.
Yeah, they do. I guess what
Grizzly Manor guys, right?
Grizzly Manor, yeah.
Those are good dudes.
They have gotten into the approval process. They got rejected once. I forget what the exact cause was, but they were able to resubmit. It was a signing issue that I think that tripped them up the first time. But after you know, they got that through, and then once Perry put out the OS X release that does the upload to Mac Store directly from the build screen, at least one other developer has submitted to the Mac Store and is in the approval queue, waiting to go through approval. I don't know of anybody. Well, the
Windows you can
the Windows Store doesn't take x86 apps, does it? They have to be the Universal build or Windows Phone 8 to go into the Microsoft Store.
Yeah, no, I mean, for Windows it'd probably be harder to monitor unless somebody manages to get themselves onto like Steam, because you could just throw a executable up on a website, right?
Yeah. So. And so I don't know what type of, you know, we don't have any target stores really to measure on the Windows side until we can start doing Steam stuff. And you know, I don't know how many of our games are going to be, you know, are going to get onto Steam because of their voting process and stuff. So,
I wish Eric were here to kind of talk to that, because Eric has a very strong opinion on what does and does not work on the Steam store. I don't know what he's done on the Steam store or what his experience is, but he's got some interesting opinions. Because, like we were saying, and I was doing some research myself, just just some quick market analysis, super anecdotal, but it does look like there's some dislike, for lack of a better term, when you see a traditionally mobile app developer try to push something to Steam, just because it's like, oh wait, this super simple gameplay was tried first on mobile, guys. This hasn't been tested for fun like it should be. Steve is laughing at me.
Now I know what you're talking about. I've seen posts about that where people get upset or rank on stuff when they're like, "Oh, this is a mobile game. You converted it to PC. What's wrong with you?" Okay, yeah, but we've been converting PC games to mobile for a while, so what's wrong with that?
Exactly. Whatever. I mean, I guess that's just market share. It's kind of like, have you guys ever seen those Yelp hustlers that are always like, oh, this restaurant sucks, I hated your food, your bathrooms are dirty. Then they email the proprietor and they're like, if you buy ad space with us, we can make all these reviews go away. I'm really concerned that that's what's starting to happen on Steam.
Nice place you got here. Be ashamed if something happened to it.
Exactly, the racketeering. It's like, hey, Joey, you see this guy's review section? I want you to go to ape shit on it. Just take a bat. But so I wonder if the same thing is kind of starting to happen with Steam reviews, because it's so competitive. It's so crazy. I don't know if I don't know. I feel like what other than Steam, like what do you guys think are the best monetization areas for desktop apps? I mean, you got the Mac Store for sure. I mean, aside from locking everything down with padlocks and trying to sell it on your own site, I mean, I don't know, other than, I guess, Good Old Games, I think we were saying before, that's not really for this kind of a release. Isn't that for like... Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you guys think?
I wish Eric was here because he's done some looking into this.
Yeah, he's got a lot of opinions. But I mean, I know itch.io has some front ends for paid games.
Yeah, I think that was what he was talking about last time, was itch.
Yeah. Which is it's really well designed, I think. I like it a lot. I mean, I guess Steven's probably the expert on that as far as, monetization after development is concerned.
Yeah, I think you're asking the wrong crowd, man. Have any of us published or tried to publish our games on...
Do any of us make any money?
If you ask about publishing on, like, iOS or Android, then I can say
Let's
yes.
put our heads together. What do you think? Let's put our heads together. I mean, we got itch. Itch is one.
Wow, that hurt.
Don't put it actually to the screen. You're gonna knock it over. But I mean, what if I haven't really seen any other, like, can you sell apps through Gumroad in the same way that you sell plugins and shit like that?
I think you're mixing things between going to a marketplace that already has a user base and then talking about marketing your own thing, right? I mean, anybody can beat the streets and sort of market these desktop apps, but the whole point of tapping into a store or a directory, right, is it's already got foot traffic.
Let's talk about that. What is the point of going to the store? Is it just the foot traffic? Is it to, do they offer any kind of DRM for you? Do they offer protection? Do they just take a cut?
I think most developers are probably just concerned about the sales, right? You're really just trying to get
It's about discoverability.
Yeah.
I am going to say I did a Google search just now for PC game distribution platforms, and I found a list. It's from a few years ago, and that's going to become instantly obvious when I get to, and it's mentioning there's a website called Shiny Loot. Here's one that's indie game. Here's itch.io, and then here is the, at the time, probably well-intentioned named Gamersgate.
Ouch.
I thought that website, if it still existed last year, does not anymore.
Let me flip the question a little bit, though, and say, let's say this. Like, right now, we're saying that you can put the executable on your website and you can sell it, right? Or you can go through one of these stores, like Apple or Windows Store or something. Let me ask you, if you didn't have to go through the App Store for your mobile apps, would you do it?
No. I absolutely would not do it.
So we'd be back to individual marketing from our own properties.
I don't think I don't think the App Store and Google Play do all that great of a job with marketing on our level anyway. I mean, it's a crapshoot regardless.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I get the right person to retweet my mobile app link on my website, it's just as good as some asshole stumbling upon it being like, oh, this is fantastic, in whatever, app store that I want them to look at. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to discover in those stores now, regardless. Ever since iTunes, or ever since Apple made that change for you only to get one app per page on your device, like, that's just been a real kick in the soft stuff as far as people trying to find.
I want to say I don't know if it's too easy to blame it on Apple. It's like ever since ASO Expert became a thing, it's like.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Apple for making it hard. I'm not saying that they did a bad job. I mean, they could do whatever they want, and that's kind of where I'm coming from in that. It's like they could do whatever they want. I always feel better about having control of the pieces. That's all. Like you can sell an APK on your website. You totally could do that. You would be, I think, in the case of a game like Questlord or a case of a game like Cigaretta, like we're targeting the people that would be playing those games, role-playing, a little bit more dungeon crawling, a little bit more, not necessarily casual, but kind of one button, so to speak. Those are the kinds of games that are going to target a specific group that knows how to, allow their app or allow their device to install unknown apps. You know what I mean? They know where that toggle button is in their settings, and they'll be able to install apps that aren't from the App Store. But you've got a game like, I don't even know, like something, you've got an app like Social Poetry, Jason. Like, that is a really awesome app that's targeting, casual folks. It's like, oh, this is really awesome. It's a really awesome scene. I'm taking this picture right now. I'm going to use it immediately in Social Poetry. Send it off to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever it is you're using. So in that, you're getting a immediate jolt, and you're not actually targeting people that are going to say, oh, I'm getting into the nuts and bolts of this device right now.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement?
I need to push an update for that app. And when I do, I think I might play with the categories on it, because I think that is what it's about, right? It's about if you can climb a rank, whatever rank that is in the App Store, you have a chance of reaching a bit of an audience.
And you totally do. I mean, I think that's why going with at our level, at our indie developer level, whatever we want to be called, Jason, Ed, and myself. Steve, you're out of the discussion, and Charles is way too big time for us. Like, going paid is really the only way to go, I feel, because that's the only way. If you get like 100 sales, then you're on a list somewhere. You're way more likely to be seen. Whereas if you go free, it's got to be 200,000.
Yeah, you gotta pay somebody somewhere to download it 100,000 times.
I really hate the idea of buying users. Does anybody like that idea?
I don't know. If it makes monetary sense, then it makes monetary sense.
Well, obviously for Clash of Clans and War, World or whatever Game of War, I mean, they are hiring expensive people and huge CGI farms to, pimp these mobile games. So the money's got to be there from doing it.
But that's the thing. It might not even be there. They're spending $500,000 to make $1 million. And I don't, that would be cool.
And hey, they made $500,000, but you had to have that $500,000 first. And that's the indie guys dilemma.
That's the indie guys.
If they paid $500,000 and they made $1 million, that made sense.
Sure. And if I had $500,000 laying around and I knew I could flip it into $1 million, I'd do it. But that's our problem, right?
It's not about having the $500,000 though. It's about knowing that if you spent $500,000, that you would make $1 million.
Exactly.
Which means that you have to have a good property already.
Exactly. And I think that's the key. It's like, I would love to have the sure thing, you know what I mean? But it's still blackjack. It's still white or red. You know what I mean?
Well, and at the end of the day, these guys aren't spending their own money anyway. It's venture capitalist funded, and it's all it's the whole thing.
Angel investors and all that. I don't want to.
A little bit of angst in there.
Well, just under full disclosure, I gave Clash of Clans $20.
Part of the problem.
I probably got that much enjoyment out of the game.
Then that's good. Then that's a fair trade. Listen.
Yeah, but I got to the point today that advancement was so slow and was taking so much time. I took my walls and wrote the word "enjoy" on my map, and I put all the resources in one corner, easy to get, and all the defenses on the other side protected by walls so nobody would die. So people can just go farm me to their heart's content. And I'm currently installing Star Wars Commander to see how that's like. So,
so it's going to be a ghost town in your little village tomorrow.
Hey, I don't want to change the subject completely, guys, but I see that Charles put up a comment talking about Demi Moore. Did you guys see the first two female Rangers just passed SEAL training?
School.
The Ranger School, yeah. Sorry. Did you guys see that?
No.
Amazing stuff. We're living in the future.
Yeah. I've been following that story for a while.
Have you, Rob? Is that kick-ass or what? Huh?
Because I know the one of the writers that's been covering it for the newspaper close to Fort Benning, and he's been doing an excellent job of covering this story. He was one of 3 embeds that the Army let go out with for Ranger training with this, with the Washington Post and Christian Science Monitor. And you know, he spent 3 days down in the swamps of Florida at Eglin Air Force Base, you know, watching these Rangers go through the last leg of Ranger School. And there's a third woman. She did not pass the Mountain Division, but they let you recycle and take those legs again. And as far as I know, she's currently handling the Mountain Division. So we may have a third woman Ranger, or to have passed Ranger School in a few weeks. So now that doesn't mean that they're going to become Rangers and actually join one of the Ranger Corps. You know, there's a lot of people go through Ranger School and not actually never actually be a Ranger. But you know, this was the first class that allowed women in, and we've had 2 pass, so it was a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I mean, I love the way they describe the first test is you've got to do a 12-mile hike with a 50-pound rucksack in 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And if you can't do that, you're out.
Does that count as a hike?
Pretty much.
At that point,
Yeah.
that's a run.
When's the last time, Jason? When's the last time you had your kid in a backpack? Come on, you had 2. You had 2 at once. You're carrying one on the front, one on the back. It's got to be at least 40 pounds.
That's what the stroller's for, my friend.
I mean, even to do 12 miles in 3 hours with no rucksack.
Yeah, no. Come on,
No. Well, fully clothed. I mean, they're not. You know, they don't have like sneakers on. That's what always like scares the shit out of me.
I tell you, you don't want to run 12 miles naked. Let me tell you that.
That's a half marathon. That's essentially a half marathon.
It's serious. That's good stuff. As far as making money from apps, we have to blaze a trail just like these wonderful young ladies did.
There you
Absolutely.
go.
Nice, Diane. Hey,
I'm gonna bring it back to the forums though real quick because I wanted to mention, and actually I just looked to get the link and I saw Ed had replied to somebody who was seeking like an expert coder, and what I wanted to bring up with you guys is I found it really interesting when I was reading this because my thoughts for it were that this person feels they need an expert, which is totally understandable and great. And the reason they think they need an expert is because they need somebody who's going to be able to work with existing code. And part of me feels like whether you need an expert in this case is really going to depend on the quality of your existing code. Because if it's not prepared properly, an expert's going to come in, and even if they can wrap their brain around it, it's going to drive them nuts having to try and work within that. You know, it's sort of, that's a double-edged sword of an expert's going to know how to work with it, but is also going to be potentially stubbing their toe against any deficiencies in the code that you already have. What do you guys think about that? Ed specifically, because Ed replied to that thread.
Hey now, this guy is waiting for a response to my email. He emailed me, so.
Okay. Then I don't want to.
Well, there are a bunch of people that, you know, every once in a while you see people that are like, oh man, I'll give you guys $1,000 for, you know, to fix this, blah blah, this, that, or whatever. And I remember seeing one. Rob, you were on this thread, and I'm just looking for.
Rob had to bolt.
Well, forget it, Rob. You were out. Rob was on this thread.
You're gonna have to shout really loud for Rob to hear you.
All the way down at North Kakalaki, but he was. We were talking about some guy was like, you know, I've got 2 hours worth of work. You know, this is $500. Just take a look at what's going on here. I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, I feel like what you guys are talking about here is something that you might be able to figure out on your own without doing it. And Steven, I just posted a link or a forum thread that you replied on. I don't know if you saw that, where somebody was like, "Oh man, I can't figure this out. I will give $100 reward." You're like,
you did it in under 4 hours. Did you get your $100?
$100? All right, email me and I'll send you that little 2 lines of code that you need to reset that thing. I'm just making up the count here, but you know what I'm saying, right, Steven? Steven's like,
Steven's a classy guy. He didn't even mention PayPal in his response.
He didn't. He was like, "Here you go, bro. Here's an add."
Yeah, man, you gotta stop sniping all that easy money, buddy. I'll never talk to you again.
So, I mean, it's double-edged sword, like Jason said, because sometimes people actually have poorly formatted code. And this is moved over here, like everything is in one module, and they need it done yesterday. And so you're saying, well, geez, now you're basically screwed because this is 3-4 days worth of work, and you're never gonna find a coder competent enough with the budget you have.
Well, there's so many variables too. It's like, how old is this code? Is it graphics 1.0? I mean, is it, there's so many things that could throw a wrench in those works. But again, not knocking the guy. I think he actually, came at it and seems, I can see why Ed took the bait and said, let's talk, because I think there's a potential for a good project there. But I just remember looking at it and going like, that is either going to be an excellent job or not. And when you draw the lines on, I need an expert for this, it's like an expert might be in a position to tell you need to refactor some of this existing code.
I'm not hating by any stretch. I would never say, I think it's always good when people are posting and saying, hey, I want collaboration, or I want to bring on, a competent coder. I'll never say that that's a wrong thing to do. And I don't even think in this case it's necessarily right, wrong, bad, or good, or whatever. I looked at it and was like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. I'm sure I hope this guy, gets somebody good. He got Ed, so he got the best. So I'm sure that, everything's going to work out there. But I mean,
I'm pretty sure there's some significantly better coders out there. They just don't avail themselves in the community.
Ed, look at that bookcase. That bookcase tells me that you're a master. That's what that says. You got the secret to the universe on that
I got
shelf.
some guns there to go with the book.
That's right, exactly. Put all those shelves up.
I just wanted to say one thing. With regards to this post, I think that the word that the guy was really looking for was professional.
Yeah.
Somebody who would be able to look at this and go, yes, I can help you, or no, I cannot, and this is the reason why. But not so much an expert.
Yeah.
No, you put that real well, Ed, and I think that's important to note, because when you're looking, this is going out to all 3 people that are watching this right now, and all one of them that actually is in the position of hiring contractors. When you're looking for a contractor, I mean, you definitely want somebody that can evaluate and communicate what it is that they're seeing accurately, because sometimes I might look at something and I'm trying to form the words in my head and I feel like I've got low spectrum autism where I just can't get it out. I can't equivocate exactly what it is that I'm seeing in my mind's eye with this code and what it is that I want to get out and have you understand about what's happening in your code. So having somebody that's professional, that's done this several times in the past, and can actually get that information out to you, and then have you guys iterate on a dime, spin it around and get it back to dev, that's invaluable. That's worth its weight in gold as far as I'm concerned. I think Chris can do that, Ed. I think you've got I think you obviously can do that. I think it takes a well-structured mind to have that happen.
Yeah, I wasn't. Where's my microphone? I wasn't trying to prop myself there. What I was trying to say was the guy was looking for somebody who would be able to make that decision.
Yeah.
We spoke about this in front of Geek before, and on that, the last time we spoke about it, what I said was, I generally don't take jobs like this because they make me a little bit leery, just like you guys were saying. And it's always hard to say no after you sort of said, well, maybe.
Yeah.
I get real gun shy about having to work with an existing code base, just because it's not even a matter of good versus bad. It's just a matter of something that could be a very simple, very quick change to the person who structured this code. There's just a learning curve to jumping on board and seeing how it's made. And so it's not a question of good, bad, better, worse. It's just a question of you need this done fast. And it sounds simple, but if I've got to figure out how it's all built from the get-go, that's just going to complicate things and it's going to slow things down.
Those are catchwords for me. Fast, easy, simple. That's all. The rabbit hole goes.
Alarm bells for me.
Those are alarm. Yeah, those are alarm bells. Yeah, exactly. It's I just want a simple this or a simple that.
Simple or easy. I'm like, whoa, hold on, coaches.
Right. Yeah. Because simple usually means a higher level of sophistication in design, right, than just banging something out real quick.
Such a good point, Charles.
And the consumer or the project owner's definition of simple usually is attached to affordable or easy, something that they can afford or it's within their budget, and it's like those two are opposites.
Perfect example. I took a real supposedly simple job. Somebody was like, "Hey, I just want to show a video. That's all I want." I was like, "Oh, all right, that'll be super easy." And they're like, "You know what? I actually want to have a little bit of text about like my company beforehand." And I was like, "Well, shit, that's just a splash screen. Who cares? Whatever." They're like, "You know what? It's a little bit more than the screen. It's a landscape. I need it to scroll." Fine. Obviously, super easy. We got a scroll view widget. That's great. It's like, you know what? I want a scroll bar on the right side. And I was like, all right, well, I think the scroll view does that. I'll put that in. That's no problem. It's like, you know what? The scroll bar isn't working right. I want it to work this way. It's not working the right way. And I was like, well, it's scrolling. It works fine. I don't know what the problem is. It's like, well, no, it won't scroll right. The actual scroll bar in the widget doesn't actually do any scrolling. It just tells you where you are in the text that you're looking at. So if you grab it and try to scroll with it, it doesn't actually do anything. So I then had to spend another umpteen hours trying to code in an actual scroll bar that does the scrolling by itself with the actual code in it. So I essentially had to make a bespoke scroll bar for the specific app itself.
You have to attach time. You have to attach money to time and time to effort.
Yeah.
Yep. I can do that, but that'll take me I think it'll take me a minimum. Right? That'll take me a minimum of 3 hours, maybe more, and then just remind them of how much that would cost, and then that usually taps the brakes on any sort of creep, because they're like, oh, well, never mind.
Future creep is real, Charles.
It's real, but that's why you got to attach it to time and dollars. I can
specs.
Yeah.
And then when they come to me, like you're saying, Charles,
yeah,
I always do that. I write them back very politely, and I say, "Sounds like a great idea. Thought about it. This is going to take 2 hours."
Yeah.
They're like, "What?"
Right.
Exactly the response, Charles. They're like, "Oh, well, maybe then we won't do that."
Yeah, usually it's because it becomes a value judgment of how important is this. If this is mission critical, then we will work it out, right? But if you would just like to have that and you're not willing to pay for that, then it's not necessary.
Exactly.
I think, but I lost my microphone again, darn it.
There's a reason that we don't, exchange pigs and chickens anymore.
Did you eat dinner, Charles?
Yeah, I did.
And it depends. I think depending on the relationship with the client and how things are. I'm thinking of a project I did a couple of years ago where a client wanted a little addition, and it wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was, multiples of 100. And I said, they had already were on the hook for a lot, and I said, listen, I'm not going to give this to you for free, but I'm not going to bill you for it yet. I know that we're going to have another larger invoice down the road, and I'm just going to table this for now. And when we have that future business, there will be an additional line item for, however many couple of $100s that this was. And true to form, however many months later, there was another project, there was another larger invoice, and they said, great, we're just going to add it on then. So it was like, I threw it in for free now in the interest of not nickel and diming them, but it still left the impression that my time is valuable, and but again, that was a good client that I had a track record with, and that I knew was good for it.
Not one of those fly-by-night clients. I'm sure we've all had those.
Indeed.
The client who either died or went to Mars. Not sure what happened there.
Steven, who handles...
Let's turn into a client discussion. Oh, yeah, because you brought up that thread.
I did. I brought up that thread. Steven, who handles feature creep on Militants? Are you the one who holds the reins? You getting everybody back in line?
Good question.
Or are you having an awesome idea for something for it right now?
I don't have an
Exactly. Do you have a project manager, Steven?
Though, right in his mind, he's like, do I wish to speak about this? I'm not so sure I should say anything.
NDAs notwithstanding, do you have a project manager?
We sort of have to fight it every time there's an event, and we talk to people.
Oh, yeah. So you show it at PAX East or whatever, and then somebody's like, it would be super kick-ass if you did this, and then people come back to the office, and they start working on that feature.
I mean, not just people that come up to play it, but someone who might be a business contact, but might not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you get, like we said, angel investors. You get publishers that are like, we could sell this if you turn the ants into wasps.
Right, if it only had hornets.
Oh, I am just biting my tongue now.
Did we hit it right on?
Mute yourself, Steven. Hit that mute button.
That's right. Save yourself.
Yeah, right. Turn off the camera and your microphone, pound on the desk for a few minutes, and then you can come back and tell us all about it.
It is interesting when that happens. I mean, I know game devs that have had relatively successful games, that have sold a little bit, and then, before it even released, people were like, "Hey, this would do really fantastic in Sweden, but it needs to be in Swedish. I'll take a quarter off the top. You just give me some residuals on the back end, give me 3 points. I'll translate it into Swedish in a month, and we'll both be rich." And you're like, well. Yeah.
We just finished doing all of our translations, actually.
Say again, Steven? Say again?
We just finished doing all of our translations, actually.
There you go. All right. And so, hopefully you... Yeah, I mean, you find, like,
I don't know, I was thinking it'd be real popular in Swahili.
Right, exactly. If you have, like, what are the big ones? You have to do Mandarin, or is it Cantonese? You have to do Japanese, and you have to do Spanish, right?
Yeah, we had to do some UTF-8 updates for that and all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. So a lot of the times it's like, well, do you go with this person that's telling you, like, oh, snap, they can do it for this much, and then, I don't have to worry about it. It's just going to be a plug and then a plug-in, and then we'll be good? Or do you say, what, I know I have something here. I want to bring it to market, and then if I see it, benefit, then I can do the translation later? Or do you just do all the translation on your end? Like, I guess it's always a toss-up. And it sounds like, Stephen, you don't want to divulge any secrets.
There's services that'll do. I mean,
right.
So that's not such a big deal. It's just you brought it up, so I mentioned that we.
Yes, and I do appreciate you biting your tongue. You're being a good man.
Hornets.
Yeah, the other stuff.
Yeah. Jackets.
What?
I'm just throwing in some ideas there. Hornets and yellow
jackets, exactly.
Wasps. Ants with wings.
Ed wants points. Ed needs a percentage. Ed needs a percentage on that. But I think it's always weird when you see people that come out of the woodwork. And I mean, I guess that's kind of the sign that you have a great idea. Like, I guess if you show something at a festival, or if you show something at a conference, or you have somebody that just approaches you, while you're having lunch, and outside it's like a nice 3-piece Armani. They're like, hey, I know you guys are doing Militants. Looks tight, but here's what I think would work, and I already have investors lined up. All you need to do is sign here, and it'll be great. I know it's tough, and I don't know how to really balance that. Like, I guess we're getting back into that conversation that we had earlier in the life of After Dark. We were talking about, if it's your baby, when do you let go of it?
Never.
I don't know the answer to that question. But as far as
Eric.
Yeah, Eric knows better. Eric knows not to let go. He's holding on to that. He's riding. He's riding that baby. Exactly.
He's not even here tonight because he's afraid we would tell him to let go.
I haven't seen him in a while. Who knows where he's at?
Ed can't get away from that nonsense, even when I'm not on the show.
Exactly. He's excited about all the.
Yeah, so I got to pick on Eric. I got to have one guy in the show that I poke. Third day is the morning.
Hopefully Eric's out working hard. Hopefully.
Yeah, he's probably out. Yeah.
He's doing it. He's doing it big. But I mean, as far as the topic of like being a good contractor, I mean, I think we hit on a good thread there. I mean, what makes a good contractor? What makes a good developer? What makes a professional developer? Clear communication, Ed, and a picture on your Patreon page. You have to have a sweet bookshelf, number one.
Yeah, you got to prove that you got skills and knowledge, otherwise people won't buy it.
No, I liked the videos, by the way. Speaking of your Patreon page, I saw the ones sort of describing what the monthly.
My lazy Patreon, I'm like, they tell me I got to do a Patreon video, so I'm doing one. Here it is.
No, that's the best way to approach it, though, Ed. You don't want to be.
No, but I thought I mean, it was a week or two.
I couldn't get much more honest.
Talking about sort of, communicating to people exactly what it is that they'll get. I thought those videos did a good job.
I appreciate that. Have you seen it yet, Charles?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
Are you like in your
Charles is just like biting his tongue over there.
You in your fluffy
video
bunny pajamas or something?
Too honest, my friend. Too honest.
Are you in your bunny ear pajamas or something?
No, I'm just sitting here. I got like a little camera off to the side, and I'm showing some stuff.
Yeah.
And I just start off like, oh yeah, it's almost like, the camera's on. It's like, that's quite that stupid. But then I said something silly like, oh well, they tell me that I got to do a video for Patreon. It's a good idea, so I'm doing one.
So here's the thing is, I think that I heard this thing the other day that said your brand is what people say about you when you're not there, right? And you mix that with trying to be something that you're not, or be something that you absolutely are, right? Trying to be exactly who you are, and if who you are is, if you can capture that and just be that all the time. I mean, I've seen people do really well with that, and then their brand becomes that, right? People talk about them because that's who they are. So I don't think that it's too far-fetched to think that you just captured the essence of Ed and then roll that up, and people will appreciate that and buy that. Not everybody, but not everybody's going to buy from IBM. Not everybody's going to buy from some slick trifold glossies. They're gonna buy who they're going to buy from.
I'm 100% on Charles' side there. You don't want anything glossy, and I thought it was good, and I think that's exactly right.
It feels real. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it feels real.
It's honest.
I didn't even cut out the mistakes that I made. That's how bad it was.
Right.
How real it was.
That's how it should be.
But I think it's also it's honest salesmanship. It's like, this is what you're gonna get. This is what and that's good. That's a good thing.
You ever heard that comedian talking about you get all dressed up, you go into a job interview and act the way that you wouldn't act normally, and say the things you wouldn't say normally to get a job that you really are going to wind up hating anyway, and then at some point you get fired and you just start the whole process all over again. And it's like, why even go there?
Exactly.
Right? Why put this face on to say, I'm going to do this for you and be all this and all that kind of stuff like that, and then when it comes to having to deliver on that, you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. You guys suck.
You end up hating yourself. You're hating the person
you hate your customers. Yeah, I mean, don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it bleeds over into the whole client thing too.
Oh, right. Yeah, which is true. Not all bids are worth winning. Right.
Nope.
Not all projects are worth winning.
That's a truism and a half right there.
I'd like to see that measurement.
And it's important. I think what's most important about that video is that I think in forum posts, people don't get to know you. And I think it's like your help is invaluable, and I think they would understand it better once they knew who you were. Like, they see the video, they see the actual help that you provide, they're like, all right, this is an actual dude that's, in front of an awesome bookshelf that has the knowledge of, 17 centuries, and I know that he's going to help me, and I know that he can answer a question professionally. I mean, there was that one guy that was speaking half French, it was Frenchlish or whatever, and you actually translated it and then gave him an answer that was basically in English, but you translated it from French. I mean, where else is anybody going to get that? So I think that's that's good that's what that video describes. You're going to try to help somebody. You're going to go the whole 9 yards. I don't think you should have. Frenchlish, like Spanglish?
You're talking about the loop, aren't you?
I am talking about that loop. You don't talk about that loop.
I will say this, though. Do they...
the life of me what that guy was talking about.
Do the Corona forums allow us to have signatures? Because if so, you post so frequently You should absolutely have just a nice, tidy, not super long, but a little link to your Patreon at the bottom of each of your posts.
Right,
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I
I
saw one engineer that had his own signature in there, and I think he's the only one that I've ever seen.
I think they're afraid that people will abuse it, because I have seen that. People abuse signatures. They have too much extra crud in the forum post.
Speaking of abuse, Ed, thank you for sending me that email update. I need to keep an eye on newbie questions forum a little bit closer. I don't know if anybody saw that thread. It was this dude that got, I guess his account got locked pretty much, but basically he went on like a tirade. I wish we talked about this while Rob was still on, but he went on a tirade in the newbie questions forum about how
I do love a good tirade. Link, please.
I will send you. I'm going to forward you the email, but it's
I get all the forum posts. I'm subscribed to everything that anybody posts. So
do you really? You get them in your inbox?
Posts in my inbox.
Wow.
I am too,
but
I don't do questions.
And then I saw this one. I'm like, what?
Exactly. Oh, it was so good.
I knew when I clicked on it that post would no longer exist, which it did not.
His whole account is shut out, and I was like, damn it.
Was that the message to the universe?
No,
it was. Yes, it was.
With, good luck.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. Somebody send this to me.
I'll send it to you, but it's like, wow, this guy just goes on and on. It's really horrible, but he ends off with, "Good luck, guys," or something like that. I can't remember. I'm like,
he was like, "Good luck, you dumb motherfuckers," or something like that. Like he was pretty angry. It was actually amazing. I'm looking forward right now, and it was the universe one, Steve.
I saw it. I stepped out, and I came back, and it was gone.
Exactly. They completely locked out his entire account. So
now I'm getting why you have these things delivered to your inbox, Ed. So you don't miss these things.
I feel bad though, because I felt like that guy just got frustrated, and then, you know, like you pull the trigger too hard and you really did something really embarrassing, you can never come back. It's too bad.
Drop the mic.
Unless you want to get like a new account and pretend not to be that guy.
That's kind of what he did, though, Jay. He was just like, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out. And then
what movie is that? What movie is that from?
That's from Half-Baked.
That's it.
That's basically what this dude did, and I was like, oh shit. And it was crazy because he was like, I'm going to go make the next Flappy Bird. And I was like, well... Wait.
Okay, but that's not going to make any money because there was already a Flappy Bird.
Right. I was like, wait a minute. Are you saying that you're going to make... I was confused. I was like, are you saying that you're going to... I was like, all right. I understand what you're saying. Like, you're going to make a lot of money from that, but I don't know. It was just like, yeah, all right, dude. Like, I
just wanted to say, too bad the post is gone because I'm like, he said he was going to use this other toolkit or something. I'm like,
oh yeah, that's
really?
He was like, no, he said this.
So much
this is what he said.
Corona.
Ed, here's what he said. He was like, all right, you motherfuckers, this is bad. Ed, you've screwed me up. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to go use Android Studio, and I'm going to make the next Flappy Bird. And I was like, wait, that's what I was like. That's what I was took pause from that because I was like, well, you can't wrap your head around Corona. Like, I don't want to make you feel... Obviously, I can't respond, but it's like you're never going to make heads or tails of Android Studio. Like, I don't know how you're going to edit a manifest XML file if you can't even understand
the beauty to, like, angry forum internet stuff. This is true. I've got a spreadsheet somewhere where I keep, like, you know, when you wake up at 2 in the morning and you have that idea for a game or whatever, you just jot it down. And somewhere I've got one, or I like the title, too. I came up with the title. So it's going to be a real-time strategy. It's going to be called Fanboy Flame Wars, and you're going to pick a faction. So you've got either little Apple things or the little Android robots, and you can have all the different flavors of Android. So you've got your characters that are like, you know, Jelly Bean. There'll be a Marshmallow one now. You know, little Xboxy guys, little PlayStation-y guys. You'll have the special character, the ghost of Steve Jobs will come in, and he can, you know.
I think it's genius.
So Frenchlist.com is available.
Out of all that, Charles got French what?
Frenchlish.
I love it.
And then fanboyflamewars.com is taken.
Oh.
seeing the mind, the brain going on active thinking. It's like got thoughts.
I would love to see the list of domains that you own.
That's all I'm doing over here is just Googling domains.
I thought we were going to get through the whole hangout without ever mentioning going and getting a domain name off of
No, come on, that's come on, that's like,
how we're gonna get rich, man.
That's like what? That's like
gold
watching
mine.
Johnny Carson without Ed McMahon. That's come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Now the question is, now that we have a Tumblr plugin from our boy developing, maybe we could just get fanboyflamewars.tumblr.com. That will be
Hey, speaking of social media stuff, Jason, when's your app coming out, man? When are you gonna start dropping that on us for testing?
You know what? It's getting there. I'm still tweaking it. It's like, I've got a couple client projects I'm working on. I got the day job and all that, but it's getting closer. Because here's the thing. It's really close. It works. I just need to get it. It's tidying it up, and that's always the part.
Okay, well, don't fall into the it's 90% done. I just gotta polish it a little bit more trap.
Yeah. No, I will say I've already I came up with some ideas for you're going to be able to favorite something out of, star it on Twitter and all that type of stuff. And then I thought, it'd be really cool to set up a Chromium server and have it so that people can plus up or plus minus and keep my own internal rankings of these things and see that. And I said, that's a great version 1.5 feature. Yep, exactly. I said, write that one down under Fanboy Flame Wars, and once it's released, we can look into doing that.
One of us just had a microphone. Bloop.
I think that's the bell. Right, Charles?
Yeah, it's time to go, guys. I gotta go. It's 2 hours, man. We go at it for 2 hours. I think we could go even longer, but
I don't even bother watching the regular Chronic Geeks because I know this one is superior. This is the varsity team. I know this one has got all the charisma.
More cursing, all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, we've exceeded our limit on cursing.
We keep it raw up on this one.
Stop bringing up itch.io, because every time you guys do, then I got to go look at all these games and decide if I want to go pay $1.99 for one of these or not.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Well, I've got I grabbed all the links from that everybody shared in the chat, and so I'll put them all in the notes.
Oh, what's the game this month, Charles?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Since it's now the 18th.
I forgot to pick one. First of all,
we forgot to help you.
And then I forgot to remind you guys to help me to pick one.
Yeah. You did once.
And then I just said, well, you know what, we just won't have one for August.
Well, no, because I had this thought, and I swear to God, I'll keep this really fast. But I was thinking, it'd be interesting instead of a contest where we're trying to rack high scores or something like that. We could for the After Dark. It'd be cool to have like a book club type of thing where we all play something so we can talk about it as inspiration, I don't know.
I need a reason to play games, as Jason saw on Twitter recently this week. So I think that's a great idea, Jason.
Your good buddy Jason, gifted you a game that you should have played 15 years ago. Come on.
I'm trying to learn Spine. It's hard enough as it is. I don't need Fallout distracting me.
All right. Well, we're keeping Charles.
All right, you guys. We're hanging it up.
All right, man. You guys have a good week. And we'll see you out.
You guys stay easy. Have a good week.
Peace out.
Later, guys.
Later.